Welcome back, Drew Liskey with Orient Outdoors Company, and today we're going to review the Browning Citori 725 Sporting. Here I have a Browning 725 Sporting. This model is chambered in 12 gauge. Here we have a 32-inch barreled model. This particular gun weighs 7 pounds and 12 ounces. The 725 Sporting has your typical taper drop stock dimensions. I'm going to include the stock dimensions in the description of the video. Pretty typical 14 3/4 inch length of pull, taper drop as I had mentioned. The 725 has grade 3 black walnut stock. The model that we have here actually has some pretty nice grain and color. On average, the 725 Sporting stocks tend to be kind of on par with other models in the $3,000 or so price point. As we move forward on the stock, we're going to notice the checkering. The checkering is like a classical style in that it's shaped pretty conventionally. As we move forward into the forearm, the checkering continues, and the checkering on the forearm is kind of a larger surface area. Feels pretty good in the hands. Compared to some other guns, the checkering, the area that encompasses the checkering is pretty large. The forend of the 725 Citori Sporting is a English style rounded. It's a little bit unconventional compared to some other rounded forends, but it does have a nice feel to it. It almost has like the look of a schnabel, but the shaping of a rounded forend. And just to touch upon the oil finish of the stock, the stock is finished with a hand rub style oil finish. I'd say kind of a moderate coating level. You can see some of the pores through the gun in the stock, so it doesn't completely fill all the pores, but it does give the gun a nice little shimmer and protects it against the abuses of weather, rain, etc. Moving on to the receiver. The receiver of the Citori 725 Sporting is all steel, and it is a silver nitride finish receiver. That's going to be a very durable receiver. The 725 advertises that it's a low profile receiver, meaning that the wall thicknesses of the receiver are relatively small and thin, but that does not necessarily mean that it's not a durable gun. On the side of the receiver, we have some ovals. They're like elongated oval textures. Kind of gives the gun like a scaly type textured look, which I don't hate and I don't love. It's just kind of in the middle for me. It looks nice, different from a lot of different guns. Kind of a blend between like a more traditional engraving and a modern engraving. It is accented with the Browning butt mark logo in a circle on the forend iron on both the left and the right sides. The 725 logo at the rear of the receiver. And then on the bottom of the receiver, you have that Browning buckmark logo in gold again. That is accompanying with a gold trigger, gold plated trigger, which really does just connect the different parts of the receiver together. Now we'll kind of move into the barrel of the 725 Sporting. The 725 Sporting has a polished gloss finish barrel with a ventilated midrib and a ventilated top rib. It is 5/16 to 7/16 of an inch tapered, a little bit thicker at the back than it is at the rear. We have a kind of a Bradley style white mid-bead, and then a high-vis competition fiber optic front sight. The 725 Pro and the 725 Citori Sporting both have Invector DS choke tubes. Comes with 5 extended choke tubes. The DS technology is just a clean, modern technology, which means that the chokes are going to stay cleaner longer, and there's less chance of any dirt, carbon buildup, etc. getting between the choke tube and the barrel of the gun. The chamber is chrome plated. Chrome plated is added to the interior of many barrels on shotguns to increase the longevity of the barrel and to make it so that it doesn't rust. So the chrome plated chambers, so the entire barrel is not chrome plated, just the chambers, which is going to help to keep that chamber nice and clean for you. One last thing I'd like to touch upon on the barrels is that they are steel shot proof. You shouldn't have any concerns using lead or steel shot. And they do have lengthened forcing cones, as do pretty much every other sporting gun on the market. The last thing that I'll touch upon on the 725 Sporting is the mechanics of the gun. The 725 Sporting is advertised as a low-profile gun, and that just emphasizes the receiver itself and how it is, in terms of width, smaller than some other guns. What does that do? Well, the first thing that the low profile is going to do is it's going to make the gun feel, handle, and balance a little bit better. It's going to feel a little bit more nimble between your hands. That's a very good perk of the gun, and a benefit of shooting it is that it's going to feel and point quite nice. A lot better than a lot of other Brownings that you might experience. Brownings are known for being a little bit front heavy. The 725, that's not so true. The 725 receiver has a tapered locking bolt and transverse mounted full width hinge pin. Those two things are designed to give the gun durability. Even though we're working with a thinner profile receiver, they've enlarged the bearing points of the locking bolt and the hinge pin to make it so that the gun is going to be strong and it's going to stand a lot of abuse when it comes to competitive clay target shooting. The 725 has some very unique ergonomics. It's a gun that really does handle, point, and feel very well in your hands. It's balanced pretty much right at the hinge pin. And when you're mounting the gun, it just feels very natural. Swings nice and quick, but not too fast. You never feel like you are, out of line for the next target. It's a gun that once you stop moving the gun, it's easy to start back up again. The checkering feels very good in your hands. As I'm mounting the gun and as I'm shooting, I don't feel like it's too tough against the palm, but it also gives you good surface contact to feel like you have a very good grip on the gun. It doesn't seem like I need to really hold the forend very hard, just a medium grip pressure, and I feel like I've got the gun in my hands, in control, ready to point to the next target. The grip angle on the 725 feels nice in my hands. I am left-handed and shooting a right-handed model. Though Browning does make a left-handed model, we don't have one here to shoot. It does feel nice in my hands. The palm swell is kind of medium-sized, not super large. It's allowing me to shoot it comfortably left-handed. While I'm shooting it, I can feel that the trigger is a nice trigger. It probably has like a 3 to 4 pound pull. It's very crisp in your hand, very little take-up. The trigger just feels like it's ready to go. I have the non-checkered wider grip trigger blade on the gun right now. I do feel like it could be more comfortable maybe for my fingers if it was a thinner checkered trigger blade. So we may have to experiment with that a little bit in the future. To wrap things up, I'm going to go through some of the pros and cons of the Browning Citori 725 Sporting. So in my opinion, the biggest pro of the gun is that it does handle, feel, and balance like a very nice clays gun. It kind of has the pointability of what I would call, a more expensive gun. Very few have, the 7 pounds, 12 ounces, under that 8 pound mark. They don't feel whippy. They're not barrel heavy or stock heavy. The 725 is a very well-balanced shotgun and has a lot of good pointing characteristics. Number 2 in the pros is the accessories that you get. You get a lot of interchangeable trigger blades, 3 to be exact, and then you also get interchangeable fiber optics for the front bead. So if green's not quite your thing, there's different diameter tubes that are green, white, and red. So you have a lot of different options when it comes to the sights of the gun. And lastly, in terms of the appearance, in my opinion, it's just a nice looking gun. You get a good quality stock with a nice oil finish, some checkering that really feels good in your hands, and you get a receiver that's engraved and kind of encompasses both the traditional and modern styling of shotguns over the last 50 plus years. In terms of the cons, the biggest that I'll point out is number 1, it doesn't come with a hard case. So you are paying $3,000 for a gun and it's going to come in a cardboard box. That's despite the fact that it does have a lot of accessories in that cardboard box. Number 2 is the Browning 725 is known for at times having kind of brittle firing pins. They are easy to change. But compared to other makes and models, the 725 and all Brownings in general tend to have firing pins that don't last quite as long as some of the other makes. And number 3, and this is probably more of an inconvenience to the gun shop as opposed to the end user, but the forend wood tends to expand or contract after production. So what we've seen is several times, and I'd say maybe half a dozen times, we've had 725s that we were unable to put together due to expansion or contraction of the forend wood on the iron. and that we just weren't able to put the gun together. That happens mainly because the wood is not dried all the way prior to having it installed on the gun. So we have noticed that in some instances the Browning wood isn't as dry as some other makes, and or there's just something that happens between when it leaves the factory and when it gets to the gun shop where the wood changes and isn't easily installed onto the gun. We really appreciate you watching our videos. That kind of wraps up the Citori 725 review that we have for you today. Please continue to watch our videos, subscribe, like, and follow us at Oregon Outdoors Company. Thank you and have a really great day.